Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Hey, Alan Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 107 Introduction to 3D Printing in our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. Alrighty, so as we go through and we take a look at our next project, we're working on lab number 3, project number 9, the stationary holder. We're going to use a metric title block to create these geometries. Here's the basic lab. And I've already opened this here. Excuse my voice. Ideally, it's a pencil holder, something to put on your desktop. And so as we take a look at creating these different geometries, we use solid modeling with AutoCAD or with SolidWorks. These are the dimensions in millimeters, and you can modify these shapes. Notice that the geometries are all held together in some way so that you don't have these independent towers. This is the height, and so this would be a 60-inch diameter, 26 millimeter height. Here's your 40. They line up, and you don't have to make them exactly the same, but relatively close.
Hey, Joe. One question for you, or two questions for you. Can we use Fusion on this also, if they want to?
Oh, you bet. It's an excellent program, and it's a really up-and-coming software.
Also, can we put a base on these? Put like a pedestal or something like that, or bottom on it, if they want.
I think that's best, yeah, because if we look at the module, that's a good segue. So there's a student file. And so this is, again, a copy of that same PDF. And then if we download this student file and open it, I've already got mine open. We go through the modeling instructions for it using AutoCAD. And we use this technique quite a bit where we just show the progression. And if we were to look at this in a top view, these are the geometries. And this is on the B-size title block. And so you do want to open up the metric title block from the main splash page. But if we were to analyze this, we can see that we have these different geometries laid out according to the PDF. And then, like you were saying, Al, we started to group these together and put a base on it. And I kind of take that back as far as having these connected. I guess we don't necessarily have to have them connected as long as they're, as long as they're grouped.
Okay.
And so we create these different shapes, and then we need to offset them so that we're able to model them. And so as we get the shapes created, we created them and then we extruded them. And so we can go into the modeling toolbar. And we can use either press, pull, or extrude.
What's the difference between the two, Joe?
Press pull is more automated. It creates a boundary region and it will do your Boolean activities like subtraction if there was, like these have holes in them.
Oh, neat. Okay. Thank you.
And so we can create these different geometries. Shift middle mouse wheel.
And if students want to make them a little higher or lower than what we expect, is that okay?
Yeah, as long as they don't get too big where the build times become, we try to keep the build times to around 4 to 6 hours.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Because sometimes people can get carried away And it's good, you know, to have the projects when we have so many people in the class. So we can use press, pull, or extrude to create these, and then like you were talking about with the bottom. My computer's wonking up on me a little bit. Is that we can extrude this bottom shape as well. I'm just going to bail out of that. I'm going to pause the recording while I get my computer back. So as we look at things like extruding, we do want to put a base on this. And it has to be a closed polyline. And you want that base to be like that. And you can make that 3 to 5 millimeters just so that you have a solid base on the bottom of it.
Now, Joe, when you have a solid base, when you just extrude, does the other pieces like attach to the base, or do we have to attach it individually or group it individually?
Yeah, that's a good point. So you can union these.
Okay, that's the question. Do we have to be in a top view or a side view, or which one would be better for us?
You know, I'm going to just try it in this view. If I say union and select them all, you should see a parting line that comes in here.
Okay.
And it did. Now you can see that they are bound together. And if we look inside, we can see that we have a nice base for it.
Wow, it looks really nice. Thank you.
You bet. And then you're welcome to customize it. If you're good with 3D and you want to put a logo on the front of it, no problem. If you want to bring it into 3D Builder and add your name to it, I think we should require that part. So as we look at the model, once we have that set, make sure that you export it.
Do I have to type and export, or can I just select it off someplace on the top of your ribbon?
You can type it in, or you can select it from here, and we want to export that as an STL file.
Oh, okay.
And then if we go into 3D Builder, one of the things that we need to do is to be able to know whose file is whose. And 3D Builder is a really quick way to be able to add your name on it with the engraving tool. So we can bring this in, and you can do a lot. If you've worked with 3D Builder, you can bring images in, merge them, all kinds of really neat things. But as we go in, what we want to do is we want to be able to click on the file, and then we want to go to Edit, Emboss, and then we can add our name onto that. So I can come in here and say,
too many E's. Joe, I think.
yeah, my keyboard can get a little funky. Hopefully it's not going to. Once it starts.
It's electronic, it happens, right?
It does, more than I care. Anyhow, we can rotate this a bit. There we go. Scale it. Move it. Looks like I spelled it correctly, so we'll continue. And so we do want you to put your name on here. You can put it on one of the towers. You can put it on the floor. You can also, if you want to experiment with it, be able to bring in images, which is really pretty cool. All right, so once you have your part modeled and you have your name put on it with 3D Builder, or you can do that in CAD as well, you want to save it. And I prefer the STL file formats. And so if we save this as the STL file format, they want you to use the 3MF. Then we can go into our Dremel slicer. And then we can open that STL file. Since the part's a bit large, I want to make sure that it's centered on the build plate.
How do you know it's large or too large?
It's got those stripes on it.
Ah, so that's what distracts me. Oh, thank you.
So we'll have to scale this down. Let's go to 75%. There we go.
Can we rotate that object?
You could. Yeah, if it doesn't come in the proper orientation, you could rotate it, but you really want to avoid something like that.
Okay. So if we want to have it as flat, we can do so, right?
Right. You want to design for 3D manufacturing, 3D printing. And that's part of what we want to learn from the course. If we were to have this, let's say that we had it 15 degrees off, we would need to use support material. And then if we were to generate that, and to look at it, then we have all of this added cleanup material that we would have to work with.
Ah, so we have all the extra stuff that we don't need.
Right. So as we work on creating parts for 3D printing, we want the parts to be orientated on the palette in a way that's best for 3D printing.
How can you see this at top view? Or is it away?
I just go and I use the right mouse click to orbit it. But okay. I imagine, maybe not. Yeah.
No. You'll hold right mouse click, hold it down, and then you can do what you want to do. Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's right. And this is a rather substantial build. We'll take a look at your files and we'll make them to a suitable build time. We can do something that's 9 or 10 hours, but again, we're shooting for more around 6 hours as far as the build time for that. And we'll be working on these with low quality, 3mm layer height is fine. Alrighty, so that's the assignment. I'm going to go back to the main splash page. There's a video. Here's the video tutorial. And you're welcome to click on that and see how to create the model for that. Back to the main splash page. With that, the project is due on February 22nd. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to email us and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Al, is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the Zoom meeting and open things up for questions?
No, I think that's about it.
Alrighty then. We'll see you next week online. If you have any questions, be sure to contact us by email.
Bye now.